Hi, I'm Tessa, a veteran educator working in the field of special education.
And I'm Kim, mom of 2 autistic boys and a late diagnosed autistic person myself.
And welcome to Totally Over the Spectrum, where we dive into embracing autism through understanding and support. Welcome to episode 42, How to Keep a Job and Avoid Burnout. This is a difficult one because this is very, very overwhelming for anybody entering into a new job, understanding what is required of you, getting everything implemented into place in order to, do your job properly and not burn out.
We've talked about job readiness. We've talked about interviews. Those were our last 2 episodes. So now you've gone through the process, you've gotten a job. How do you keep that job?
Okay.
How do you navigate that? Because you've masked in order to get the job.
But your masking is not going to be able to be sustained consistently.
That's, exactly that.
So we need to have strategies put into place in order for you to be able to perform the task at hand, to regulate and not kill yourself while you're doing it.
So the first thing I thought would be a good place to start is to make a list. And autistic people, that's generally a fun thing to do anyway. So I thought making a list with 2 headings. So you have your column with things that regulate me and your column with things that dysregulate me. And that seems pretty easy at first because you know your sort of likes and dislikes probably, but it might not be as easy as you think once you get started. So some things that regulate me, and this is going to be different for everyone, but things that regulate me are routine, structure, clear, concise instructions, and a quiet environment.
Okay.
It's not a comprehensive list, but those are some of the main things.
Okay. So I pretty much came up with some of the same titles in doing my research. So give me some of your lists that you have for strategies, and see, we can bounce these back and forth and see what works for you and what doesn't.
I have no idea what you just said. The dog came over. I'm loving the dog now, for those of you listening and not watching. I totally lost. So I'm going to go over to things that dysregulate me. Obviously, interruptions.
Yes.
I mean, he's lovely. But yes, interruptions dysregulate me.
Bowie.
Chaos just dysregulates me. So visual clutter, noise, smells, too many people, unclear expectations. And then, the last one I have was interruptions. So there you go. It's perfect timing.
For Bowie to kind of display what interruptions means. Can you go lie on your bed, please? Off you go.
It's like, no.
Go. Or sit over here, one of the 2. Sit. Like today. Thank you.
He can't help himself.
Yeah.
If you are having difficulty making your list,
Good boy.
try and think about a typical day at home and what you have in place that helps regulate you. Things like organization or the need for sameness. And then think about a time when you were dysregulated, like now. And where were you? What was going on? And write down what was dysregulating.
Okay. I also want you to take the next step. In your home, everything is set up, your environment is set up to your preference. So when you are entering into a workforce, look at the environment in which you are going to be in and see how you can adapt it to help you regulate. So that would be one of the strategies I would say is look at your environment and see how you can manipulate it in order to help you regulate. Because on the flip side, that if you cannot adjust that environment as effectively as you'd like, it's going to cause you dysregulation. So one of the strategies I would say put into place is to see how you can do that to best suit you, to allow you to be working at optimal.
Yeah, I think once you have your list and you understand what regulates you and what dysregulates you, and for some people it's going to be really easy to make that list and for some people it's not, but once you have it, then you get to apply it to the job.
Yes.
So look for the things in the job that regulate you and look for the things in the job that dysregulate you. For example, if you're working in an office, say you're doing data entry, you might really enjoy the task itself. You could just sit there, happily plug in information all day. And then something that might dysregulate you at lunchtime, everybody's in the common room or the cafeteria, and the small talk, the smells, the people, it's too much. So right in the middle of your day, you get dysregulated, and the rest of your day might be a bit of a write-off because you can't get yourself back into the flow. And you're maybe in the morning, you're dreading having to go and do all of that just for that half an hour, whatever your break is. So what can you do? What are some strategies?
When it comes to having that type of dysregulation occur, because now you're not just accommodating, you have to accommodate everybody in the workplace. It's, the equity and the quality comes into place for both aspects. I think when it comes to a situation like that, you can build in your sensory break at that time. So while everybody else is going out on lunch,
I just have to apologize to everybody for all of the dog noise today. He's always here, but usually he's quite quiet.
Oh, and you've just acknowledged him.
I said the word dog, so he's come by. It's okay.
So, yeah, I would say putting us back on track, because this is my key strength, as I can hop straight back into where I left off, is take an opportunity to build that into your sensory break. Instead of lunch, go and find what works for you to allow you to stim, to allow you to have a different environment, to disconnect, and to just be able to de-stress while you're maybe surrounded by lights and smells that are not, conducive to your wants and needs.
I think there's a social component of that as well. That people are like, oh, hey, we're going to lunch. Do you want to come with us? There's a social component to that. It's not just you can just go away and people think everything's fine. So if you have a window of time in which you can take your lunch break, maybe you could stagger it so that if everyone's going early, you could say, oh, I'm going to eat later. Or if everyone goes a little bit later, you can say, oh, I've already eaten. I've gone a little bit earlier, sort of. And then people don't feel like you're just not participating, sort of gently going around that. Another thing you can do is ask your supervisor or your manager or whoever it is if there could be another unused room that you can sit in, just to be on your own during that time, so that you don't have to go into the common room with all of the people and the smells and things. And you don't have to tell them your diagnosis if you don't want to. You can say you have a dietary restriction, which a lot of us do, and you're not comfortable eating in the cafeteria, right? There are sort of workarounds for that, where you don't have to divulge your diagnosis, but people will understand why you're not going and joining the workplace community at that time. Because there's also an emotional component to eating. So people feel like if you're avoiding them, you're not sharing a meal with them, you're disconnected, you don't like them.
These are all valid points. And this is that that fine line of being able to put yourself first and what you need in order to maintain a job and not create a situation where you're burning out, but yet be accepted into the environment. It's a fine line. And when it comes down to it, you've always got to put yourself first, because you're the one that's going to be paying the bills and putting food on your plate, and not everybody else.
Right. But you also have to be able to maintain that job. And if people don't like you, you're going to have a hard time maintaining that job or being promoted within that workplace environment. So it's a balance. It can't just be all about my accommodations right now. You really have to put some thought into how you're going to manipulate this situation in order to not offend people and still get what you want. It's tough.
It is tough. And I think initially you're going to be in, swim or drown mode, and you're in the deep end. So you're going to have to, at first, do what is necessary for you to regulate, and then start adding the different layers in where connection within the workforce is going to come.
I think you kind of have to keep everyone else's sort of expectations in the forefront of your mind at the very beginning, because once you establish the routines, everyone will just accept that, oh, Kim doesn't eat with us, but that's okay. So you kind of need to set that right out the gate. You can't start eating with people and then say, oh, I'm not doing this anymore, because they will think that you don't like them. That's how people work. So generally, if you make it seem like it's just a thing that you need and has nothing to do with a dislike of your coworkers, even if that might be the case, they tend to be understanding, as long as it's not, they don't feel that it's personal. So, thanks for the offer to eat together. I just need to mentally tune out at lunchtime to keep me on track for the afternoon. So that becomes a thing that I need and nothing to do with them. And people will be like, oh, okay, yeah, she just needs a break during the day. She works so, hard in the morning that she needs that break to be on track. Do you see how that works? So
Yeah.
It's really just delivering that information in a way that is palatable to someone else.
Yeah, I think we're trying to get the same message across, but we're coming from two different perspectives of it, which is great because it's giving you more opportunity and options in how to navigate this. And there's no right way and there's no wrong way.
I'm speaking from experience, growing up this way. This is, if you're in high school and people want you to come for lunch and you can't sit with these people for lunch, they are offended. And then they're not going to talk to you anymore. And that translates into a work environment as well.
I guess that's where I was always different. I just marched to the beat of my own drum and I couldn't care less. But I'm also a social butterfly, and I'd be like, hey, hi, how's it going? Nice to see you, blah, 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 blah. And boom, gotta go.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Autistic people are pegged really quickly for being different. So it's a bit of a different way of being.
It is, and we're trying to navigate this.
The next thing I thought was really important when you're trying to maintain your job and not burn yourself out is autistic people tend to like routine, generally speaking. So if you work a certain shift and someone says to you, oh, hey, I need to have this day off. Can you cover my shift for me? It's okay to say no. If you start picking up shifts, especially at the last minute, you are going to burn yourself out. It is going to happen. So remembering to schedule downtime for yourself, especially in those early months of starting a new job and a new routine and everything is new and overwhelming, that you might have to pick up a shift here and there, just to keep, teamwork and
Yes.
being part of, I'm part of the team kind of idea. If someone's going on vacation and they give you a couple of weeks notice, sure, you can pick up a shift, but not every week and probably only once every couple of months, just to keep your routine intact.
But one of my strategies was, developing coping mechanisms by implementing a routine, right? Predictable routine is one way of being able to regulate in a workforce environment.
The other thing you need to do is give yourself time to adjust to that new routine of the job. So ideally, it would be great to ease into a new position, going from part-time to full-time kind of idea, but that's not always possible. So that transition is going to be challenging no matter what, but it will lessen over time as you acclimate to your new schedule and learn the job. And it's really important that you have good job training to lessen that anxiety. As you become more familiar with the expectations and demands, your comfort level will increase.
Which is natural, and it doesn't mean that applies to everybody, and it will take a little bit longer for you, just because you're trying to manage your sensory needs as well as your anxiety. It is going to take a little bit longer, but it is normal.
That's exactly right. So if it's not working out in the first 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to need to give it more time, and that's like 4 to 6 months kind of time.
Yep.
And that's going to vary for every individual, but just don't give up right away. And I say give up like you have a choice. I mean, try to build enough supports in for yourself to make it through that initial discomfort that you're going to have.
I agree on that point.
So give yourself as much downtime as possible. That might be every single evening and every weekend while you're adjusting to this. And your friends are going to understand. If you have good friendships, they're going to understand that this is all new and I don't have any more energy to give out socializing with anybody. I just don't have it. And that's just going to be until I ease into this new job, and that could be months.
And also making sure that when you do get into a new position and a new career, that you do explain this to your friends and just give them, touch base, us, neuro non-divergent folks take it for granted. So please just remind us and say, hey, don't forget, I'm starting a new job. So if I'm become antisocial along the way, it's not you, it's me putting in my strategies that I need in order to regulate. And like you said, good friends will be there to support you and understand that process.
Yeah, because a lot of times we regulate better when we're alone. If you find that you are unable to use your list, you're unable to make adjustments to lessen the dysregulation, and 6 months have gone by, this might not be a viable job for you. But before you quit, in Canada, your probation period is generally 3 months, which means after those 3 months, you can ask for accommodations in the workplace without fear of just being dismissed.
Okay.
They have to have a reason in order to fire you after your probation period is over.
So let's talk about some of those strategies and accommodations that you can request.
There you go. Floor is yours.
The workplace accommodations that you can ask, and especially for jobs as a result of COVID, a lot of workplace went to being online and flexible work arrangements. So I think that if you are able to request that you do your job from a remote situation and meet your needs, I think that's a great opportunity for you to discuss that with your employer and, highlight the benefits on how productive you're going to be if you are able to work partly from a remote location, such as your home. And if it's a win-win for both of you, I think your employer is going to be on board for that. The other aspect is you can utilize adaptive technology in order for you to do your job more effectively. So don't forget to implement some of those tools that are readily available on your computer, such as talk to text, and utilize those in order for you to lessen the load of your work and be able to do that more effectively. So those would be a couple of the strategies I would say in regards to accommodation. The other one would be environment. If you are a person that requires a certain set of lighting, a quiet room, certain types of headphones to reduce the noise, these are acceptable accommodations in which you can request. And if you've got a good employer, they will be willing to help you out on that. And last of all, meeting, I think we're going to go into the next discussion point is your stimming at work and requirements for that, which kind of fall under your accommodations, but we'll talk about the necessities of that first before asking for your employer to implement that into your workplace.
Yeah, I have a couple of points to add to accommodations. We have an entire episode on accommodations, and I'll put a link to that from this video. I think the other thing I would do when I'm asking for accommodations is not to sound like I'm making demands, because sometimes when you are requesting something, people are more likely to help you when it doesn't sound like, I need you to do this for me. So while an employer can't legally discriminate against you based on your disability, that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. So delivering those requests in a more palatable way might actually get you what you need a little bit more effectively. So I might ask for accommodations in a way that benefits the employer. So would it be okay if I switch to a desk at the end of the hallway? The area I'm in right now can get quite loud, and I would be more productive in a quieter area. Oh, you're going to be more productive for me? Sure, I can make that happen. Or would you be able to provide that information to me in an email? I don't want to miss any of the important details, and it would be really helpful for me to be able to refer back to it. So you're still getting your written accommodations, but you're doing it in a way that benefits the employer. I understand this seems unfair, and this is a lot of dancing around to get what you need, but the majority of autistic people are unemployed.
And I'm glad that you're providing line by line notes on how to achieve this, because this is a clear example of neurodivergent and neurotypical. Automatically, I would have gone, oh yeah, I would have done A, B, and C without thinking about it. And this is a clear example. I'm going, well, why would you have to say that? It's given, right?
Nope.
No, it's not given. It is given for the neurotypical, but it is not given for the neurodivergent. So this is the examples that we're giving in order so that you explicitly know how and what to do and not to do.
As an autistic person, this seems like a grand waste of time. Why can't I just go and say, hey, I need a quiet place. This is too much for me. It's clear, it's concise, it explains exactly what I want, and it's true. Because the other person doesn't want to hear it that way. That's what it comes down to.
Yes.
This is really where that social communication, the reason it doesn't work is because autistic people want to be clear and concise and just say the facts.
And take all the frills and fluff away from it. Straight to the point.
This isn't emotional for us. It is just a piece of information. But the other person has all these feelings attached to these words. Oh, you're demanding that I do this, so I'm not going to do it because you demanded it of me. Are you kidding me right now? Why are you feeling this? It has nothing to do with you.
Absolutely, I agree on the point with you. And therefore, requesting accommodations, like I'd said earlier, working from your home environment, as soon as you attach the productivity, a greater productivity to anything, it's a buy-in.
We often get accused of being too blunt. So these are just some examples of how to soften things for other people, as much as it feels like an awful lot of work for no particular reason. Okay, let's move on to stimming.
Okay.
You cannot suppress your stimming all day and avoid burnout.
I agree with you. It is one of my top strategies to put into place when you're in a workforce is taking sensory breaks and allowing yourself to stim, whatever your stim is, whether it's in a quiet area of your workplace or you excuse yourself and you go and find a place that allows you to do that. And one of the strategies I would say to have in place prior to you starting your job is to go and see the environment in which you're going to be in, get a layout of the land, and scope out the possibility of having a room where you can go to. And if there isn't, find a location that's close enough for you to go to and be able to do that without being picked on.
Yeah. This is really going to depend on what your self-regulating behavior is. So if you use fidget toys, for an example, and your job allows for the opportunity to use them, obviously you're not going to be having fidget toys when you're using heavy machinery or working with food. It's perfectly okay if someone asks about it to just say, oh, hey, I think better when my hands are busy. We have a tendency to want to give accurate information. So your tendency is to say, I'm autistic, I need to stim. But you don't have to do it that way. What might work best for you is to give that person a truthful statement that is more palatable to them to avoid any kind of bias. So, I think better when my hands are busy. Or there are also very professional looking desk ornaments that are really just very fancy fidget toys, like those sand gardens or the magnetic cubes or moving art pieces like a Newton's cradle or something. And everybody that comes by, ooh, I want to touch it. So to be fidgeting with those kinds of things is socially acceptable. So you might be able to find something that looks more socially acceptable. People often flip their pens or click their pens or rub their fingers. You say, oh, that's something I do when I'm thinking. All you have to do is have a scripted response that is palatable, and it shuts people up. Basically, it's all you're trying to do.
Yeah. And don't forget, people with ADHD also require stimming. And just, you're not, people with autism are not the only ones that require those stimming. There are other people with other diagnoses that require the same need. And therefore, don't feel you're alone in this process.
Yeah, I have a friend with ADHD, and he needs to get up and walk around periodically. So you can do that in an office environment, and no one thinks twice about it. But periodically, you just have to get up and move around or go get a coffee or a drink or whatever, and then go back to your desk. And that's a perfect coping strategy.
Yeah, and a lot of offices now do have your desks and your computers set up in a manner in which you can be seated at your desk, or they can be elevated in order for you allow you to stand and work. It happens a lot at the school board. All of our secretaries do have their computers. I don't know what the technical term is, but they're able to lift up the computer and then they can stand and work for a period of time if they so choose to.
Yeah, they have stand sit desks.
Yes.
That elevate.
So they can, do their job far more effectively. And a lot of employers, once they know it increases productivity, are quick to implement those into place for you.
For people who need movement, besides walking around, some people do their leg bouncing, just constantly bouncing their legs, cricketing your feet, which is just rubbing your feet together. It's sort of a really soothing thing. You could use grip strengtheners, that people don't really question those kinds of things, or a stress ball, so you're still getting that movement. I heard some people say that they use chewing gum as a replacement for vocal stimming.
To be quite honest, I haven't quite heard of that strategy. I
don't know if it works.
I do know that putting on headphones and creating an illusion that you're listening to music and creating vocal sounds on a lower level helps you meet that vocalization need. The other strategy for those who like to move, have their legs in constant movement, you can get these elastic bands that go on the base of your chair, and then you can have your feet on it to allow your feet to be bouncing while still staying stationary. So those are one of the strategies, and they also come across as an exercise band, so people don't question that as well.
One of the worst things that has ever happened in office environments was the open concept office environment. How are you supposed to function when you have everything is open concept? That person's on the phone, you can hear the phone conversation, those two people are talking right beside you because everything's open to the world.
They're maximizing space, right? And you fall prey to that, unfortunately.
I don't think it's beneficial for anyone. I think it might be fun for the extroverts because they get to see everybody and talk to everybody, but I don't think it's actually productive. And I think work environments are now actually finding that and going back to the cubicles and offices and that sort of thing, because it really doesn't give you more room to have open concept. You still have the same number of people in the same space. It's just you have no way of blocking out distraction.
And sound, yeah. I agree with you. And maybe the more traditional formats will be coming back and increase productivity, which will be a win-win situation.
I think so. Let us know in the comments if there's something that you guys use that we missed.
Absolutely. We'd appreciate that. Anytime that you like, subscribe, it really helps us out. It creates a better algorithm for us, and we know what is working and what you require. And we're happy to research materials that you need information on.
Yeah, you can always drop us a comment if there's anything you'd like us to talk about as well.
Now that we're talking about all the stressors that are evident in a workplace environment, how do you cope with stress, and how does stress manifest in an autistic brain? So I think that would be an excellent next podcast. So
I came across a great journal article. I can't wait to talk about this one.
yeah, until then, have a great day.
We'll see you then. Thanks for tuning in. If you know someone who might find this episode helpful, feel free to share. Also, check out our website and socials linked in the description.